listeners, welcome to the Human Weave and our first guest episode for this season on Stories of Connection. I am your host, Rosh, along with my co host, Yash, and we are thrilled to bring you this deeply meaningful conversation on going beyond the surface to build genuine connections in a superficial world. In this episode of Human Weave, we explore the art of authentic connection in a fast paced world with master coach Anup Mittal. Anup brings over 15 rich years of corporate expertise in marketing and sales within the telecom and banking sectors. Today, he is the founder of Butterfly Coaching Academy, where he trains future coaches with gold standards of International Coaching Federation. With more than 3,000 hours of coaching experience and innumerable group coaching workshops across India, Anup is deeply passionate about creating a positive impact through meaningful conversations that have the power to inspire and transform lives. Many of us experience relationships and conversations that feel shallow and transactional in the world around us. In times where interactions are often guided by the thought, what can I get from this person? It is worth slowing down and thinking, what does it truly mean to connect on a deeper level? How do we cut through the noise and form bonds that truly matter?
Whether you're navigating friendships, professional networks, or online communities, this episode is filled with insightful lessons and heartwarming stories that will inspire you to nurture real relationships. From the very first time Rosh and I spoke with Anup, we were intuitively aware that he's one of the most authentic people we have ever met. We are so happy to welcome him on Human Being.
Thank you, Rosh. Thank you, Yashashwani, for inviting me to have this conversation, and I'm equally excited to contribute at my best.
We would love to start our conversation, Anup, with uh, having a little bit understanding about what you would personally mean a genuine connection to be and its evolution over the time.
A genuine connection, if I have to refer it to the spiritual tangent, the mythological tangent to it, so I have always been referring a genuine connection as a connection that was there between Lord Shri Krishna and Sudama. That was there between Lord Shri Krishna and Draupadi. That was there between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna. So, a genuine connection basically is where that person who's vested in another person has no self vested interest. So, if I say when Krishna is vested in Sudama, Krishna is vested in the welfare of his friend the way the friend is. Krishna is not there to expect anything in return. There is no self interest in that identity of Sri Krishna where he's acting as a friend, where he's fully willing to see his friend as a wholesome thing and trying to contribute or give whatever he can as a friend. Similarly, he is showing that aspect of genuinity in his being in the relationship with Draupadi, in the relationship with Arjuna. So all phases you see, he's the one who's acting as a giver in all true sense, where he's giving without any motive, without any self-vested interest. Now that's what genuinity is all about. The other part of your question, where you asked me to see how it has been evolving, I think it has been seeing a sea change. If you ask me, the way we make connections these days are mostly with the selfish interest. So, I was having a deep conversation with one of the fellow coaches, and I was trying to understand that when people say that we are here to help, what do they really mean? Are they here to help me so that I am able to help them back even more? Now, I see that is happening as we are evolving. We are becoming more individualistic in nature. We are becoming more self centered in nature. We only want to create or form relationships or invest in relationships if we have or if we see certain benefit out of them. Else, we are not right now. We are not able to make genuine connections the way they should be. So that's how I see Yashash, meaning as a genuine connection.
That's a beautiful story you brought in of the relationships between Sudama and Krishna and Draupadi and Krishna. So there is not a defined way to explain what a genuine connection could be or what relationship it could be. It could be any relationship, but the fact that it is coming from a space of what can I give rather than what can I get. What has been your journey personally with the definition of genuine connections? How do you feel about the word in your life?
It has been a very varied ride, if I'll say. It has been a ride where I have seen people who are genuinely vested. I have seen people who are not genuinely vested. I have myself served corporate for 16, 17 years, and you know how corporate environments are. People want to be politically corrected. They would want to show that they are your friends, but eventually you know that they are not your friends. They are your competitors. So I have been through a lot of ups and downs in terms of forming relationship. And personally, Rosh, I am very poor. If you ask me, I'm very poor at showing something which I am not. So that has made me suffer a lot in terms of kind of trusting people, being open to people, being transparent to people, and I know I've burned my hands and suffered a lot. So how I see is it's very rare to find a genuine connection. Very rare. I have been trying to evolve myself. I have been challenging myself. I have been trying to answer these questions of who am I. And one thing that I've realized that in universe there is only one force. You can't expect a tree to grow if you're not willing to sow the seed. So even for the tree to show up, you have to sow the seed, which means you have to give something to soil for that soil to work upon. You have to give something to other in order for something other to give you back. What I mean is that giving eternally is more superior of than taking. Taking is always following the giving. Until and unless I give you respect, I can't expect respect for myself. I cannot say that okay, I respect Roshini, but I respect Roshni little lesser than how much I respect myself. So I am learning here, I am evolving here, and that is giving me a lot of strength to offer myself to people genuinely without without any expectations for sure. But then also I am able to invest in relationships where I surely know that you cannot expect that person to anyway help you in this lifetime. Still, it allows me to go and show up myself and help. So this is something which is something that I'm learning on the go and evolving and applying. But yes, I see a whole lot of scope here as well. There has to be a very genuine intention when you operate with something like that.
And when you mention poor in not being something I'm not, it is rich in being authentic at the same time. Anup, you have coached so many individuals. With that experience, what do you perceive that holds people back from forming genuine connection?
Oh, very good question. What people hold people to form a genuine connection? Prima facie, if you ask me, and if we look at like last 300-400 years of human evolution, we have been in a culture, we have been in societies where we have valued families and larger families and extended families a lot more. So if you see, we have grown up in a society where we have valued joint families and larger group of people living together, forming societies. In last 300-400 years we have valued IQ also at the same time at a very high level, where which has allowed us to move from a, a group orientation to an individual orientation. So the first primary factor that I'm seeing working with so many people is, there is this line in Hindi. I will convert it into English as well, that I think I have been listening from my parents and my uncles and my aunts in society at large, is तुम अपना सोचो बाकी सब अपना सोच लेंगे. So somewhere down the line, this particular line, you think of yourself and let others think of themselves, certainly has led a perception where you have started, I have started, society has started thinking of themselves. So we want to put ourselves first before we want to put anybody else. Now that has become a massive belief, Rosh, if you ask me. We have kind of formed a society where, even if you see somebody dying on road, you are not willing to stop your vehicle, take that person to the nearest hospital because you think you will get into trouble. Even if somebody would want to think about helping others and genuinely invest in other relationships, this belief obstructs people, and it shows in their conduct somewhere down the line, consciously or subconsciously. It shows in their conduct. Second thing is, there is a certain level of fear also. If I see, I have been working with people who have been bringing a lot of relationship troubles to me. People think that they will be cheated if they are very genuine. They will be taken use of if they are very genuine. They will be leveraged. There is this certain fear that comes from two dimensions. One is another person will take my advantage if I'm going to be more helping. This person is going to use me and leave me. That's one thing. Second thing, there is an inner comparison also which is surfacing up in the current generation. Like, if I'm going to help this person may become even superior to me, or may succeed, or may reach to a higher goal even before I reach. So there is this fear which doesn't allow me to help others. Now, that is also something which is deep inside, which is surfacing up these days, that people don't genuinely want to help others because they want to be somewhere down the line. I want to be more successful than many others I know. Yeah. No, that tangent also doesn't allow me to form a very selfless relationship with someone, because somewhere down the line, all these things, all these perceptions have gone deeper into our systems as a society, not as an individual, but as a society. And there are many factors to it. So all these factors put together don't allow me to genuinely go and offer, give, serve, do that. Yeah. And not look at my own self. Look at the person who's suffering. Look at the person who's going through a trouble. Not that obstructive view doesn't allow me to full throttle. A lot of times you might see people talking to each other and telling each other that don't waste time in this relationship. Yeah. So all these things are hidden parameters or hidden factors that are causing us to somewhere down the line be that Krishna for people around us.
So when you're saying about having that self-vested interest where you don't see yourself first, but you genuinely want others to be uplifted. I was just thinking about how people setting boundaries, right? Said that, okay, this is not where I will have benefit from. So, how do you think this kind of connection or the attachment relates here? Like, how much is too much of interest in somebody's matter?
It's very difficult to define a boundary. You cannot define a boundary. One thing that I've also experienced in last few years in this journey of being a coach and helping others is, you cannot enforce your help or helping attitude or your intention on others at the first place. You cannot enforce it. You have to ascertain that whether that person has a genuine need also or no. So if I just go and start helping people without even ascertaining they have a need of taking that help, they value that help, then in that case it may absolutely be considered as a very generic advice where people may say, okay, you're barging in my privacy or you're getting into my limits. So the first factor when you are willing to help others is to announce your intention and let others follow that intention, let others receive that intention, and let others take that action which is beyond that intention. So say suppose I say that I want to help people grow, I just can't go and enter in your life or Rosh's life and just say that I'm here to help you because I have a great intention. I also need to pursue this thought of how you value this help, what you exactly want. So, I mean, I cannot be a doctor who has understood medicine that well that I'm just offering medicines to everybody. Just take it. I need to be very cautious of who wants which medicine. And does that person even in need of that medicine? So, a lot of time what happens is people say, okay, we want to help others and we want to make this world a greater place. And they start contributing food packets and they start doing this, that, without even ascertaining what that person is needing. What is happening to that gesture of serving food? Is that I mean, it may happen that there is a scenario where you're making people eat food, but they want clothes to wear. It's winter time; they want clothes to wear. So, without even ascertaining, we are only pushed back by again our thought of serving others. And let me tell you very honestly, I meet lot of people who want to become coaches. The first question that goes in, what makes you think of becoming a coach, is they genuinely want to make this world a great place. But after 4 5 questions, the realization happens that you are here to become famous or become more rich. Or, I have been saying a no to 45 50% of people who come and meet me to start their coaching journey, because what I say and what I do has a difference. Establishing what they need is a prima facie question which many people forget to ask even when they have that intention to need to help someone. So how are we doing that actually can help us draw that boundary of what help do we do. Also, one more factor that I'm realizing is, and I'm learning it as a coach, I am challenging myself as a coach here. Help should not make a person weak. Help should not make a person dependent on. Help should be in a state where you are helping that person raise their potential so that they can pursue their interest genuinely. If I'm allowed to speak a bit of Sanskrit here from Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a small shloka. It says, Annadanam param danam vidya danam ata param annanena shranika trapti yavachi vancham vidya. Now, this shloka inspired me way back in 2016-17 when I was going through reading some bits and pieces of Srimad Bhagavatam. This says that you offer food to people, you are temporarily helping them kill their hunger. But you offer wisdom or intelligence or knowledge to people, you offer them something which stays with them and make them self dependent. Because food is going to help them in a very temporary manner, but education, knowledge, or wisdom is going to make them more self dependent. And the same intention of this thought also comes from Chinese proverb, which very clearly says, you give a man a fish, you feed him for the day, you teach him how to fish, you feed him for his life. You help people, okay, temporarily you may help people, but help them in a way where they become potentially more stronger. Now, the balance here is in understanding. Help should make a person independent, is what I believe.
So you are talking here about the aspect of giving. When we talk about help, it is coming from that part of the relationship where you give. And there is also a part of the relationship where the trust builds is also how you take. So when we are talking about boundaries, one thing that comes to my mind, I read this somewhere, that you should not build walls when you're building boundaries. It should be a bridge. It should be for the purpose of self care rather than just putting off people and saying, no, I don't want to do this or I don't want this. Only then, when there is that kind of a kindness and a free flow of give and take, like a bridge is something you can cross and come back, and the other person can do the same. And that is when the relationship can kind of grow more stronger. Have you seen this in your work? Sometimes that unhealthy boundaries, like building walls around them, causes people to actually step back from making genuine relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a harsh reality, if I have to say, and I am not distant from it. I have faced it. I have created it. I am not a person. I'm not here to claim that I am the most sorted person here. We all end up doing this. That's a harsh reality. A lot of times you see when people are in need of a help, they are going to come to you. And when you offer that help and you help them completely, somewhere on the line, most people will vanish after that. Most people will not really would want to create or nurture that relationship after that, because the purpose of them connecting to you is resolved now. And when the purpose resolves, they move to next, move to next, move to next. So there's a constant pressure on moving next, moving ahead. So that intention is also somewhere on the line, make people look selfish. They may not be selfish, but it may end up making them look like selfish because their job is done. They're off the track. And you can't even imagine that if someday you are in help, they're going to be there at all at the first place. You cannot expect that. Second thing, help also, Rosh, somewhere down the line. I've been listening to Simon Sinek. I've been listening to various other speakers as well. I'm also learning here because I'm not too sure what I'm going to say is something that I can adapt to. Or that's one of my developmental needs as well. A lot of times, seeking help or asking for help is also a very difficult task. If you ask me on a personal note, for a person like me to ask help is very difficult. So I sometimes, if I reflect back to your question, I am a person who's created wall for myself, which I am not ready to break to go and seek help. Now, I see it as a strength till now. But in this present stage of my journey of evolution as an individual, now I've started challenging my mind that, okay, is asking help a sign of weakness? Or is asking help a sign of strength? So, somewhere down the line, you are right. You have to see it like a bridge, not like a wall. You have to see it like You have to see it like, and I'm also learning. So I'll not say that I'm a I'm a person who's very good at it. No, I'm not very good at it, and I'm very quite vulnerable when it comes to seeking help. But I'm learning. So recently, I watched this movie a couple of weeks ago, 90 Minutes in Heaven, which is on Netflix, which is based on a real life story for a person who met an accident and who went to get caught for 90. And there's a conversation in this movie where this person is not willing to take help even from his family. And his mentor comes into the room, and this person who met this accident is also a priest somewhere on the line. His intention is to help others succeed and help them in. But he was not willing to take that help because he felt that asking for help from others may be disturbing them, maybe creating a turbulence in their lives. And this gentleman actually makes him reflect upon that a person who wants to give help is not willing to take help. Is he not restraining God's wish for him by not seeking that help? So it's both ways. So the walls exist knowingly or unknowingly. The walls exist. Some people don't value that help genuinely and superficially takes help. That makes some people judgmental and consider help as not a good tool. Some people like me are weak in seeking help, trying to improve. I might not be able to answer how do you build a bridge and dissolve that wall. I may not be fully ready to give you that answer, but it should be done is what I totally believe.
So to bring it basically to the consciousness, yeah, that there is a wall. Either it is the wall after you have taken from somebody, or is it is a wall that you've built that you're not able to take from somebody. Yash and me were also talking about vulnerability a couple of days back, and we were saying it's not easy, but it's such an important aspect of building a relationship, because when you show your vulnerability, somewhere the other person is also ready to be vulnerable in front of you.
Like Rosh was saying, we were having this conversation. So I was sharing with her that it's difficult to ask help, but probably before I would not have said that at least. So when you were saying you have built in that wall, it's very relatable because I see myself also doing that quite often, and I'm aware that I've built that wall. But when you were saying, it just struck my mind that probably that wall will convert into bridge when we have a person who can be trusted, who we have genuine connection with. Because when I reflect back, probably I said it the way I said it to Roshni because I had that genuine connection with her understanding what I say or what I mean. Probably that would have not been the same scenario or the conversation if it was with somebody else. So that makes me wonder, does that depend on a person and their connection between that person while seeking help?
It's a two-way process. If you ask me, what you're saying is absolutely right. You need to have that trust. You need to have trust is basically a feeling. Now it's very uncertain in nature. How will you trust a person? So there is no commandment to it. If you ask me, there are processes, there are various theories, but still, again, it's very fragile as well. No, you say, suppose you were trusting a person and suddenly the trust is broken today. What you do, where will you look at? Now trust is also something which is very uncertain. It can be built. Building trust takes more time than breaking it. Trust can be broken like flick of a second. The trust is broken totally. Now the second aspect is you and I, people like us who find it difficult to seek help, who find difficult to announce it to the world that we need help. I have been contemplating this question with many of my clients as well, and I have been doing a self retrospection, introspection as well. And day before yesterday only, I was having a conversation with my wife at night that sometimes it is very difficult for me to appreciate people genuinely, and I'm very vulnerable. I'm very honest here because you guys have already acknowledged that I've been authentic and I love being authentic and I don't have any fear or shyness here. But sometimes I feel very difficult to appreciate or acknowledge people on their effort because in my childhood I was never appreciated. In my childhood I was never acknowledged. And I felt that my parents have always been acknowledging the neighbor kids, the siblings, the uncle's son, aunt's son. They have been doing great, and you are not that great. So my childhood for 20 years have been listening to that conversation where this quest in me to prove it to the world It's not there in last couple of years, but till the last couple of years I was struggling, I was chasing, I was not knowing what's happening to me. I was trying to prove myself, try to run faster, run. I want to prove the world that I'm capable, I can do it. Somewhere down the line in that quest of proving myself, maybe to my parents and to the world, I developed this perception again. This perception is developed that if I'm going to ask for some help, then in that case I'll be seek. Oh, see, we knew that you're going to ask for it. We knew that you're not capable. We knew someone. Now I am not willing to listen to those sentences about me, and that also stops me from taking those. I remember Rosh and Yash, and I'll be very honest. When I started my journey of entrepreneurship way back in 2018, it was a shocker to me. It was a political action that was taken against me. I was part of a office politics, but very rarely I go back and explore that part. But I remember my laptop broke after 6 7 months. My old laptop fell from my hand. I had no money to buy a laptop. That laptop broke, and I remember I was shattered that day. What will I do? I had no work. I had no money. There was no salary coming in. There was no income being generated. My father called me somewhere around 7:30 p.m. in the night, and touch wood, by God's grace, he's more self-dependent than I am right now. So at his age, he's more self-dependent because of his decisions that he's made in life. So he called me and he offered me to transfer 2 lakh rupees in my account. That at least you go and buy a good laptop because you're establishing your business. I said no. I'm going to work with this broken laptop, and I'm going to buy a laptop the day I'll have money. Now when I look back at right now, it is all because of the brunt of my childhood that has made me look like this. Yeah, and I would have satisfied my ego for sure because of that perception that seeking help is a sign of weakness. But somewhere down the line, it has delayed the process for me. If I would have taken that help in a more holistic way and seeking it in a more holistic way, then I would have been at a better place. Maybe I am trying to change myself from this perception right now. If you ask me, in the present state, I am trying to change. And one of my very close friend, he's also a fellow coach with me. He's doing his PCC with me. Somewhere down the line, this gentleman's presence in my life, his name is Vijay Srinivasan, has enabled me to challenge me myself on this perception. Somewhere down the line, his conversations have pushed me to look back of what stops me of seeking help. It's not a complete process that has happened, but somehow this gentleman and his presence has enabled me to look into this. That is also one of the factors, Yashashwini, which stops us from seeking help. And this is kind of a wall that we have created. As Rosh asked this question, there is no wall, tangible wall. Perception is a wall. That strong perception is acting as a wall. And here, as a coach, we can help people reflect on these intangible, invisible walls around them, which are forming their reality.
Now, when I was just reflecting while you were speaking, I think it's just about getting help or having that help from somebody where they will have the authority of our decision.
I'm just thinking about what both of you are sharing. I personally have been somebody who has resisted building that wall. That has put me into a lot of pain because sometimes I trust too much. But I have very consciously, it's been a fight with myself not to build that wall. To be honest, I I felt so there were two values that were very genuinely coming up through the conversation we were having right now. One is authenticity, and the other is to be vulnerable. Until one person shows that, the world that we live in right now, it's very difficult to start because you are holding back because the messages that are coming constantly, what you were saying, Anup, also you were sharing that you are given that message that okay, don't trust, don't help somebody, because now if there's an accident and you go and help them, you will have to go through all this. Those messages are constantly around saying that no, protect yourself, protect yourself. And that's why we hold back to those two things, being authentic and being vulnerable, though most of us like that. We like especially the authenticity part. I think most of us want to be ourselves. We've just learned the game and learned to put on that mask in certain situations, especially in corporates. I recently had a client who came and told me that, she likes to help people. And because of that, she was not having time for herself. And then she said a very beautiful thing that, but she gets something from doing that also, that she gets a feeling of satisfaction when she's helping. So it's not just that she's giving, there is something she's getting in the process for herself. But she was advised by her manager that at a workplace, there are no friends, they're all your colleagues.
Mm.
And she was kind of ready to take that messaging, that yes, there are no friends here, they are just my colleagues. But the fact is, you are spending around 9 to 10 hours with these people. If you're constantly thinking of them as competition, if you're constantly thinking about them as people who are going to maybe backstab you or put you in trouble in some sort of situation, I think you will never be able to give that, right? Like you'll never be able to be that vulnerable or authentic in front of them. You're always cautious. What is your take on that, Anup?
Yeah, I mean, again, as I say, no, that it's a very common, massive belief, focusing on individuality. Now, let us take an example. Can we expect a soldier to see other soldiers as competitors? No, I'm going to shoot more bullets. Yeah, you can't do that. So basically, if I see the word here is unification, we don't allow people to unite with each other, to create that bond with each other, to create that safety net with each other, to create that psychological safety at workplace. Because we believe, as leaders, we may believe that it's going to hamper the productivity, it's going to hamper the culture, it's going to hamper, but it's the reverse way around. So you're right. The bigger question is, can I leave my personal life behind when I come to office? Can I be not that person? So I'm a human being, I respond to things. I have emotions. I see people. Even if they're not talking to me, even if they're not communicating it to me, I can still sense what's happening, what's not happening. So, without these attributes of my being, can I really perform wholesomely at my workplace? These are some of the critical questions that are in front of us as a generation. These are in front of us. Can we expect people to behave like robots? Can we expect people to behave inhumans? No, you don't see. Yeah, so I mean, it's a paradox if you ask me. We want, when it's fun Fridays, we want people to come together, but when it's working Mondays, we want people to think separately. Now, how can you be so contradictory in your own culture? And Rosh, I've been working with large corporates, I've been working with startups, I've been consulting with a lot of organizations to look at these process efficiencies. Somewhere down the line, we have created a huge contradiction, and then we expect. Now, I was seeing a series of videos, cartoon videos. I saw there is a manager telling an employee that you can't take your phone from home in your office hours, or especially when you're in meeting. So there the meeting is, or office hours is 9 to 5, assume. So this employee has been restricted. There's a policy that employees will not use mobile phones for personal usage in the office hours. Okay, fine. Now, this manager called the same employee at 8 p.m. when she was with family, and she did not pick up the phone. Next day morning, the manager asked the employee, I was calling you for some work. Why didn't you pick my phone up? Now, she responded to that you have a policy wherein in the work environment, I cannot handle a family call. Then, after my work environment gets over, it's my family time. What makes you expect that I should handle a work call in that environment? It's a video which has been shot. That one place you're not allowing me to be very sensitive towards my family needs in the office hours, and second place you want me to be very sensitive to work needs when I'm with my family. It's contradiction. So somewhere down the line, we have to use coaching as an impediment, as a tool to look at these process gaps, to look at these policy gaps, to look at these intentions that leaders or possibly the policymakers are making. You can't have a person. I mean, you can't work like a machine. If you ask me, if I am a manager, if I'm managing sales, I can't leave my fatherhood behind and not worry about my kid. And you want me to worry for my team member as if he's my son or my daughter? No, it's a very contradictory space, and I think I have been a very, very strong promoter of the word evolution. We have made this in last 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of this human need to grow, capture, conquer, become top, highest productive. We have actually spoiled everything in the culture, and that demands a solid solid accountability. It demands a solid relook at the system.
When you look at it in that way, like the example that you were giving, there also it's the same, right? Like you build a wall, now I have built a wall. Had you built a bridge there, I would have put that bridge too.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that also brings us to the thought that before we actually connect with others, it's very important to connect with self. And I'm talking this as individual as well as organizations. When you mention corporates or how things go there, like there is that paradox. Both these places, as an individual as well as an individual organization, there is a need to connect with your own self and be authentic to your own self. Can you speak about the importance of that?
It's a very powerful question, and it's a very deep question. This question actually refers to the phrase "know thyself." There's a book written by Ramana Maharishi of "Who Am I," and many authors have written their own versions of "Who Am I." It is very important to know yourself, Rosh. It's extremely important, and I am realizing now at this stage of my life, especially last 1 year, all this journey put together at one place. Last 1 year of my journey has pushed me to look at this phrase even more importantly. Without you knowing yourself, everything that you're making as a choice can be a problem area for you. Ramana Maharishi, in his book, Who Am I? It's a very small book available on his website for 10-20 rupees. I would recommend everyone should read this book. He says, ask yourself this question: is your name yours? Now, if I ask this question to myself, is my name mine? Yes, it's mine. But is it something which is given to me, or is it something which I have created? I still can say it's mine because it's given to me, and it's a massive belief. My parents maybe have chosen my name or something. So even my name is not mine. It is given to me by something. I consider it as mine. And everything in ego starts with my name. You're joking on me. You're not taking me seriously. I am saying that. I am this. I am that. Now, you are operating on a foundation which is not yours at the first place. Now, knowing yourself is very important because Swargiya Shri S.N. Goenka, who is the man who has found Vipassana, who has got Vipassana in India, he says that you don't know who you are because you are totally surrounded by societal beliefs which is given to you. So if you're born in a Jain family, you're going to follow the Jain ritual. If you're born into a Sikh family, you're going to follow the Sikh ritual because your soul actually has no ritual to it. So how will you come to know that your soul has no ritual to it, no religion to it? But you grow up in a society which allows you to think like that, and everything that you do, you think through what is given to you as a belief. A vegetarian is given a belief that he's vegetarian. A non-vegetarian is given a belief that it's non-vegetarian. So everything that you do comes from that. So knowing yourself is extremely important, but extremely difficult. Very easy to say. I'm trying to know myself, self-actualization, I'm meditating, I'm going inside. If you ask me, it's very superficial, right? You know, extremely superficial. Yesterday I was listening to a saint, and he said, somebody asked him, what is dhyana? Dhyan means your ability to focus. What is dhyana? So, in very simple terms, he says anything that reduces in you is dhyan. Dhyan means your focus. So, say suppose you're hungry, your focus goes to food. It starts reducing. Your focus starts reducing because it starts going to the food. Say suppose somebody is having a headache. His focus goes on the headache. So the focus when it starts going to headache, it starts reducing from you. So dhyana is every time reducing on the external objects that you're having right now. So how will you grow if your focus is always on something outside of you? I'm not getting promoted, or so somewhere down the line he says that you have to bring it back to yourself. You have to bring it back to your own self. So if I'm hungry, my attention goes to food, my dhyana goes to food, and start reducing, start depleting. I'm getting late. My focus goes on. I'm getting late. I'm getting late. It's reducing. So knowing yourself is extremely tough. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes intention to reach there. And it helps you. It is helping me. It is helping me to become gentle, if you ask. It is helping me to be certainly a bit more non-judgmental. I'll not say that I've acquired a state where I'm totally non-judgmental. No, I'm a human being. Eventually, I also fall short of things. So, but I can see myself growing in becoming non-judgmental. So it's only by knowing. I don't see, okay, if somebody's saying bad to me, For the first time, I'm realizing that this person is not saying back to me. For the first time. Else, I used to get defensive. I used to get offensive. I used to take things personally. But now, after learning this, I'm realizing that, okay, there's no point knowing in others. There's no point knowing the world. There is no point what's happening outside of you. There's only a point that you start knowing yourself, you start knowing others automatically. You'll see them as an extension of yours. But you have to give up a lot of on your own self to reach there. And it's very difficult, How can I leave my own identity to reach there? Hence, it's a difficult process.
I think it's also about sitting with discomfort, right? Like there is, you mentioned earlier about certain patterns that are coming up for you because in your childhood there were certain circumstances that plays on your mind right now. So when going back to that, I think can feel very uncomfortable, you know. But until you do that, you can't heal it. You can't come out of that pattern. Yes, you want to say something?
I was just relating to the conversation. So it's basically we find distractions apart from seeking our own internal environment just to not really face this discomfort, right? So we are always looking for distractions or some elements that can not really let us focus. So we were having another conversation on the COVID days also. So because of that, we were always into the distractive environment. We always had an element to run away to or go to when we had something which was uncomfortable for us. But COVID made us face those uncomfortable moments, just sitting with where we are, and we were forced, and we had no other choices. So that I could recollect on that experience with what Rosh was saying.
Yeah, in fact, distraction is now become a very, very embodied part of us as human beings. So we have absorbed it right now. The attention spans are going lesser and lesser. The technological development is not allowing us to focus and stay content with one thing at a time. We are in a very noisy world. I think Rosh, you said that there is a lot of noise around us. So how do we curb that noise? Very difficult. And again, I don't have many examples to reflect to, but then whatever number of clients that I've worked with, whatever number of hours that I've worked, I felt that somewhere on the line, when people work with coaches, when people work with, I'm not talking about a coach like a coach, but somebody who's able to really make them feel more heard, more listened. In that case, you can help people get that calm, that inner calm. And once they access that inner calm, that is the point where they can work upon themselves. What I am learning here right now is becoming a coach has helped me genuinely vest into people, going beyond my selfish interest, going beyond. And it took me years, if you ask me, Rosh. It didn't happen overnight. In 6.5 years walk of being a coach and an entrepreneur, I think what I'm seeing right now as a genuine connection or the need of a genuine connection, where you are going like that, Krishna, you can also fight that war if you ask me. So Krishna could have fought the war, no. But Krishna did fight the war because it was not Krishna who was supposed to fight the war. So he limited his help by giving his wisdom, which is Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He could have really easily killed everybody in that war. But he said that that's not my job. I'm here to help you see things, gain that potential, and fight with yourself first. You have to, there's a saying that if you have to win the war, you need to first create the war. And you need to create the war within yourself. That has allowed me to be very giving. Yes, there are challenges that come that show up even today, but I'm happy that I can see some progress happening. Dale Carnegie says that to be interesting, you need to be interested. Anyone who's not interested in you cannot be interesting to you. So if you really want to be interesting, so if I want to be interesting to Roche, I need to be interested in Roche. So attitude shift needs to be done for someone to establish that genuine connection.
That is such a powerful point. What we were talking about before, the give and
Yeah.
take. It has to
Yeah.
be a balance between the two. And that is what sets that path towards genuinely connection between two individuals, between an individual and an organization, between communities, and then at a larger context, society at large. We were talking. We were talking about distractions, so I want to bring this up. Social media is a major distraction in our world today, right? And how does that impact our ability to form deeper connections? Or does it help? I mean, it could also help, I guess. What is the context there?
So one term which is getting coined very strongly with social media is FOMO, it's fear of missing out. Now, when you operate with that intensity of having a FOMO, you start moving too quickly to things, because you're constantly in that fear of I'm going to miss out something, I'm going to miss out. So you're trying to be all the place. Social media is trying to make you be there at all the places in one go. Now that's a very difficult proposition. That's leading to an impulsiveness being built in inside me. Yeah. Yeah. I also want to copy people, compare myself with them. So somewhere down the line, it creates a very strong urge to be constantly trying to do something new or to trying to get that validation. Now, again, if you see, social media has built that impulsiveness in us to be seen by the world. We are not here to see. Let me give you an example. William Ury is considered to be the father of modern day negotiation skills. He's written many books there and he's been a TEDx speaker. And one of his TEDx talks, he says that everybody wants to be a speaker. Everybody wants to be a speaker because we have not valued listening as a skill. We have had elocution events in school. We have had speeches in school. We have never called students to make them sit in silence and listen to what's happening around. We have never promoted that. So if we have TEDx talks, can't we have TEDx listens? Can't we promote? So I see a lot of people writing, I am a TEDx speaker 5 times, I'm a TEDx speaker 10 times, taking pride. Sometimes I feel I should go and write, I am a TEDx intense listener for 1,000 TED Talks. I've gained wisdom from those TED Talks. This impulsiveness is generated by social media. However, if somebody has a strong purpose, Rosh and Yash, if somebody has a strong purpose, he can leverage social media to form a purposeful connection as well. If you ask me, I've been connected to so many good people and connected people who are doing great amount of voluntary work, and that has allowed me to, attach to their frequency. So social media is basically a medium, if you ask me. It can derail you, it can distract you, it can also enable you. Depends upon how you are leveraging it. If you are purposeless and if you are in the quest of, okay, I need to be seen, I need to be heard, I need to be, then it's going to distract you because you're constantly, you will get into a constant compulsive disorder. Compulsive disorder means constantly doing things for seeing others. And but if you see, okay, how can you manifest an intention? Like, I've been following Dr. Deepak Chopra, I've been following Dr. Wayne Dyer, I've been following JK, Jiddu Krishnamurti. These people have created a significant amount of difference. Ram Das, and the way they are building up a community, a purposeful community, is commendable. So it's both ways. It has its own pros and it has its own cons. What we can do instead of just making technology accessible, if we also build some bit of awareness of do's and don'ts of technology in the younger generations, probably we can have a better world. I remember my mother used to teach me the cutting or the chopping skill. So she never used to give me a knife in isolation. She always used to teach me how to hold that knife. Today, what we are doing is we are giving those telephones or cell phones to the children in hand without teaching them what they need to do with that phone, without giving them that orientation. Yeah.
Yeah, when Roshni was asking about there might be or there might not be a good impact from the social media, I just was thinking about our connection and how it happened on social media, right? So I got connected with you over 2 years ago on a social media platform, which is LinkedIn.
Yes.
So, which was a meaningful connection for me, and that's where we are today, right? And also with Roshni, I haven't met her personally so far, so it was a WhatsApp conversation as well with her. So I'm curious about have you had any connections, authentic connections that has impacted you like this, which has changed your course of life or the way you look at life very deeply?
Many, many, many. And I'm really blessed. There was a point in my life where I felt that I have no friends. There was a point in my life where I felt that, okay, I'm not able to match up with anyone's expectations. Whenever I look back right now, and many doesn't mean that I have a list of 50 people, but many here means there are five to seven people who have deeply touched me, deeply inspired me. Some of them are great friends who have collaborated with me. Some of them are great acquaintances who actually, literally, they helped me. If you ask me, literally from nowhere they helped me, and trust you me, even today at the night 12th hour they give me a call. I'm going to do anything for them. So I can't tell you how committed I am because I value that these people supported me when nobody in the world. There was a time in my life, Yash, where I reduced my phone book from 2,500 contacts to 250 contacts. I deleted 2,250 contacts. I saw them as not existing in my life, superficially existing. So there was a time that I reached. Now from 250 contacts to again, I'm back to 1,000 contacts, and these contacts are now more meaningful, more supportive, and it's a total new life, if I have to say. So that becomes a power also for me to offer it back to the world. So, like I met you, I met Roshni. I think every day I keep meeting people. Some follow through, some create great bonds, some don't. I'm able to perform with my intention, and somewhere down the line, I'm happy. Then again, as you said, no, that gives me satisfaction. I'm doing something which is more purposeful here. You don't know what will happen to the seeds you're sowing today, but someday someone is going to cut that crop, and definitely you're not going to cut that crop, but you're going to make this world a better place in some ways. That's empowering as a thought to me as well.
I just wanted to touch upon something you mentioned, like, there were so many people who were not there, but there were those that were there, right? I want to go back to an example you mentioned in the beginning about if somebody has met with an accident, there can be 100 people who walk away without doing anything, but you just need that one person. You don't need all those 100 people to come. You just need that one person to come and do something that will impact the next thing that happens. And also to start thinking, can I be that one person? I think, again, connecting it back to, when we were talking about going and connecting with yourself before we connect with others. If we are able to go and think, am I that one person? I think that would also start making a huge difference. Like we talk about the ripple effect or the butterfly effect.
A very powerful thought. I think there's also a quote which says this: if you have a good person in your life, if you have somebody who's a good listener to you, if you have somebody who's supporting you, if you have somebody who's mentoring you, doing everything that you would need 10 times, if you have that, it's a blessing. And if you don't have, be that for somebody in your life. I think this thought in itself is empowering. If you ask me, can you be the one? So instead of waiting for one to come in your life or searching for one in your life, can you be that one to even one person, so many people? So I think, yes, we can be. All it needs is a great intention and some bit of perseverance and hard work. You have to walk the path for a certain period before you see anything showing up here. As Steve Jobs says, have a vision. And once you have a vision, that vision is going to pull you. So have that vision that you can be that person, and this vision is going to pull you to be that person.
And when you're putting it in that sentence, a very little word that comes to me is to be. You know,
To be.
we give so much importance to doing, creating meaning to what we do. But I think simply being can also make that connection. If I'm showing up just as myself in this space, that is enough to make the connection.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Very powerful. Very, very powerful thought. A very, very powerful intention. And yeah, I think in Chinese there is a word called as Wu Wei, which means no force, which means you should not force anything. Even if you say, if you eat a pinch of salt extra, it's going to create a force on your heart to beat faster. That's going to increase your blood pressure. So in universe there is nothing which is very forceful. So don't create any force. You can achieve anything by not creating a force, by following things in your time zone. So I mean, so be there. I mean, so being there. I mean, as you said, be it, not like just keep chasing it or doing it. I'm also trying to learn this phrase and inculcate this phrase in all that I preach and teach and coach training programs in my own self. But yeah, I'm realizing it that this you should not force something. You should take action and be what you can be, but don't force a result. Don't force something. That's very important.
So when Roshni was saying about being, right? So I was having two images of two people probably with walls. In order for us to build the bridges rather than walls, one has to be where you can convey to another person that yes, I am open and available for you to the side of the bridge because of the on both sides. The availability has to be on the both ends. So for that to happen.
So how do we really create a bridge that has two ends is a very difficult question. So again, I think for me the answer would be that it until unless there's a need which is a qualified need, making a bridge between two entities is very difficult. Let me have this question. This question is showing up for me right now. Do I need a bridge if there is no obstacle in between two ends? So if there are two sides and there is no water in between, do I still need a bridge or I can just walk through it? So you need when there is an obstacle in between.
I think for me, what is coming up when you're saying that is the obstacle is ourselves. It is the gap we have to kind of reduce between us and the other person, and that comes. I'm again reflecting on what all examples you told us today, and it feels like it is about going back to yourself and telling yourself what are those things in between me and this whatever whoever or whatever is in front of me, what is stopping me from reaching there. It can be fears, there could be my insecurities.
These are perceptions which are holding you back, not allowing you to unfold or discover your true self again. So
When we're talking about this, you mentioned a few names who have been able to achieve this through their writings or teachings. I'm curious, in communities or groups, what can leaders do to encourage a culture of connection, an authentic connection?
I've seen leaders trying to command the group, trying to command the community, trying to impose their perception on the community. And at the same time, I've also seen leaders not being inclusive themselves. I have not seen leaders talking the language of inclusivity. Say, for that matter, if you go to a temple, just assume that you're going to a temple. Now, you have a VIP line, and you have a VIP counter there. You pay extra 500 bucks and you get entry to a VIP thing. You are categorizing already. You are creating a system which which contradicts the inclusivity which a community leader should. If I'm saying that we are here for a purpose to make this world a better place, can I see it as my purpose? Can I see it as my community purpose? Can I see it as so allow like if you see one place that I've really found inclusive where leaders are talking and acting the same thing as Gurudwara. I've always seen you're allowed, you're most welcome. Doesn't matter which community you belong to. You can come and do the seva. You can come and serve other people. You can come and cook. You can do anything else. So leaders need to be more inclusive, not just in your thoughts but in their conduct. So they have to see human beings as human beings over seeing human beings as rich or poor, educated or uneducated, or whatsoever. So that is something that I have personally felt as an integrity gap is what the leader is saying and how the leader is conducting. That is where the difference is. So if you ask me, Rosh, and this is a very personal belief that I'm sharing here. Again, this is something that has allowed me to say a no to many prospects who come to me at a very senior level. You know what people ask me, Rosh, when they come and want to become a coach, the first question they ask is who are going to be fellow coaches with whom I'm going to be learning. Everybody wants to learn with a set of community, a set of people whom they can network with. But what Vasudev Kutumbakam says is the world is one family. Can I make a person a coach who already has such a strong perception about who's he's going to collaborating with? If I already have that depth of biasness, will I be able to become a great coach? Now I say, okay, In my community, in my cohorts, there is only one term that we use, which is learner. You are here to learn, no matter what your age is, no matter what your level is, no matter how rich you are. We are going to charge same thing from everybody. We are not going to make charges differential basis who can afford more or who can afford less. There can be subjectivity basis the client's need and the criticality of the case. But you have to somewhere down the line be inclusive. Vasudev Kutumbakam has allowed me to say no at least to 10 fellow coaches, because the first question they wanted to know is that, are we coming to a community where we can grow ourselves further? The basic intention disqualifies for you to be a coach. Why do you want to walk on this path at the first place when you're not showing respect to human beings who are going to be with your court, and you're judgmental about their experiences and things? So I say, I'm sorry, I think you can go to any other institute which will create a network for you, a networking event for you. But for here, they can be a 20-year-old person, they can be a 40-year-old person, they can be a 60-year-old person, they can be a CEO, and they can be a executive in the group. Everybody wants to learn to become a coach. That's common. We see the commonality there. So somewhere down the line, as leaders, we need to draw this line of seeing human beings over seeing human beings as CXOs or something like that.
I just want to pick on that word for our listeners who don't know what is Vasudeva Kutumbakam. It is the world is one big family, and that is also the philosophy on which me and Yash, kind of base the whole podcast. That is something that we strongly want to spread through these podcasts that we are working with.
Vasudev Kutumbakam Roshni is the first email that I send to all my fellow coaches when they join a cohort. Only has this thing that you are part of a family where you are not going to be measured on, not even on your knowledge. Yeah, if you failed 10 times and a coach who has succeeded to pass their recording, you will not be measured. There will be no comparison in the my family. You are a human being with an intention. That we are going to follow this one basic principle, that we all are together in this, equal in this, and we will have certain equity for sure, but equality will never fail. So, I mean, I totally believe in it. If you ask me, every single cell in my body believes in it.
Yeah, that's very profound and very deep for everybody to understand. So I'll take this privilege to close the conversation with my last question. If there is one step, it can be as small as a daily ritual one can do on fostering this deeper and more genuine connection in their own lives. What would be your say for them?
One thing that I've been practicing myself and I've been preaching with all my cohorts for all levels and talking to my clients is Tattvamasi. Trust people as much as you trust yourself. So if you wake up listening to this podcast, try and trust someone whom you've not been trusting, whether he's your son, whether she's your daughter, or she's your daughter in law, or she's a colleague, or he's a colleague, and you think they're incapable. Just go with that intention for 10 minutes and say, okay, I trust you, you can do it, and it's possible. I see you as equivalent as I see myself. Just go with the thought. You're going to see an incredible transformation in yourself, around yourself, around yourself, and that cannot be taken away from you. So I think you don't need to make a miraculously big change around you. Talk to yourself. Just tell yourself, what makes me not trust this person? Trust that person. And trust to me, you're not going to do a small favor to the world if you are showing that trust to somebody else. I think that's the only thing that I have been totally drenched into, doing myself, trying myself, and preaching.
That's beautiful.
And it brings me to also a transactional analysis, which is a psychology offshoot where the basic philosophy is I am okay and you are okay. And if we start functioning from that place, it is much more easier to connect with everybody more genuinely. Anup, I want to thank you for this insightful and very thought provoking conversation that we have had. I think even for us as hosts, we are going back thinking about so many questions in our mind on how our journey can be something more profound is going to come from our own lives and our connections with ourselves as well as with others. It has been truly enriching to explore the depth of genuine connections in a world that often prioritizes to be on the surface.
I'm equally excited, and I'm really, really thankful. I always believe in this spontaneity, Rosh and Yash. And I really want to thank you and congratulate you on, setting up this intention of calling people in such a spontaneous conversation. That I've seen people planning it all out and kind of, but allowing people to share spontaneously and picking up topics which are very meaningful like this. Somewhere on the line, we have dropped the hat of forming meaningful relationships, and I am a sufferer to it. So I am both a victim and a culprit both. So I have been a person who has broken a lot of things, and I've also been a person who's been broken by many other elements of life. But this conversation has also put me into a lot of realization right now. So thank you so much for inviting me and trusting me to be a speaker here today, and your audience will also gain something out of it.
Anup, I want to thank you for that, bringing your own personal um lessons as well as, sometimes your vulnerabilities, which has made this conversation today so powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's where I relate with Anup very much because of our different background in our own lives. I was able to only connect to Anup because of that vulnerability. So I think that's very meaningful in every other connection.
Thank you.
Dear friends, if you've been listening to this episode, I hope it has encouraged you to reflect on the way you connect with the people in your life. Authentic relationships are not just about being seen, they're about truly seeing and being present for others. As you move forward, may you take small yet meaningful steps towards building deeper, more authentic connections. Here, here are a few questions to help you connect, reflect, and evolve on making genuine relationships in your life. Do you approach relationships with authenticity, or do you find yourself holding back parts of who you are? Why? How do you show up for the people in your life? Are you truly present, or are distractions getting in the way? Are your boundaries helping you build stronger relationships, or are they acting as walls that keep people out? What would change in your life if you prioritized meaningful relationships over transactional interactions?
Dear listeners, thank you for tuning in. And it's time to reflect about these questions. And these reflections are just a guide to help you pause, connect, and nurture deeper bonds in your own journey. We hope this episode has inspired you to embrace more intentional and heartfelt connections in your personal and professional life. Next week, we have a very special episode lined up where we will explore an educator's connection with students that inspires their growth, featuring incredible Florence Thomas. We'll explore the profound impact of educators and teachers in shaping their lives and fostering growth through meaningful relationships. So don't forget to subscribe and tune into the Human Date podcast. Until then, it's a goodbye from your hosts, Yash and Rosh. Stay connected and stay curious.